The 2020 women's soccer season gets started this Saturday for the Taylor women's soccer team as they head over to Kokomo Municipal Stadium to take on the IU Kokomo Cougars, and I am joined by their head coach, Scott Stan, today. Coach, obviously everything looks a little bit different here with COVID-19. How has the fall looked different for you and the ladies?
Well, one of the first and really noticeable things is instead of having 2-a-days and playing on the 10th day that we moved back, we've had one practice a day, and this is the start of our 4th week, and we haven't played a regular season game yet. So we're looking forward to actually starting to play. And the other thing that's a little bit different is that I believe the corresponding Saturday would have been our 7th game last year, and it's going to be obviously our first game this weekend.
Does that help all of this, these extra practices? Does that help not having the normal portion of the spring like you did because everything got shut down and the students had to go back and do all their classes from home?
Well, it's certainly nice to have some time to prepare and integrate the new ladies, but the thing that's really helped us is with one practice a day and more recovery time, our injuries are significantly down from where we were this time last year.
Fingers crossed for that,
right.
for the rest of the way, yeah. For sure. Obviously, such a strong season a year ago. The team goes 12-5-2. The team makes their first trip to the national tournament. How do you try to build off of all the momentum that was created last fall?
Well, it's funny because as well as we've done, even the last 4 years building up to that trip to nationals, with this COVID season and not having spring and just having one practice a day, it doesn't feel as like there's as much excitement as there's been in the past. And maybe it's because we had such a long time before we played our first game. But I mean, they're prepared and they're doing quite well. It's almost like there's a wait and see what happens kind of attitude instead of a let's go attitude. So they're not really jumping in with both feet ready necessarily. But I think once games start, the whole mindset will change here.
We've obviously seen how much talent there is on the women's soccer side of things in the Crossroads League over the last couple of years. You go back to the dominant run by Spring Arbor. You saw Marion make a deep run in the national tournament a year ago, but you and your team got to see the national tournament and the talent there up close and personal outside of the league teams that have gone. What type of benefit does that help with the ladies now knowing, okay, we have a really solid idea both from the teams that have gone to nationals in our league and teams outside of our conference that play at the national level, kind of what that talent level is on that big stage?
Right. It's really beneficial. I'm encouraged to see that what we see from Wesley and Grace, Spring Arbor, Mount Vernon, Marion, all these really good teams in our league, when you compare them to the national tournament teams that are outside of our league, I don't really think there's much difference. So it's not like we have to gear up for a level that we wouldn't face when we play the top teams in our conference. But it was really good to go and see it. And now the ladies, the goal isn't to go to nationals. The goal is to go to nationals and win at nationals. So that's a positive development that's happened because of having been there once.
Obviously, there's graduation every season, but there's a different kind of layer to that this year. You lose both goalies from a year ago. Lauren Camerano graduated. Megan Williams is now in nursing school. So you're working with 2 freshman goalkeepers. How much of a challenge is that to break in 2 freshmen back there in the goal?
It's a huge challenge because normally what would happen is a new goalie would come in and they would get to go through some of the practice routine and pregame routine with the more experienced ladies. But sometimes they don't even know what to do or what to expect for a warm-up because they don't really have a culture that they're coming into. They're creating their own. And I think that's as much of a challenge, getting them mentally ready to face a college practice every day, as I'm not too worried about their raw skills or their desire or drive, but it's just like, what do we do as a college goalie? And for them, they don't know. So we actually have the occasional help from a Megan Williams showing up and just saying, hey, here's what we did for a warm-up. And that's been really, really helpful to let them see a person who's been through it and what it's like.
You look at now some of the folks coming back, you bring back almost 80% of your goal scoring output from a season ago. Can that help with breaking in 2 freshman goalkeepers to kind of not have maybe such a drop off, knowing that, okay, we can score some goals and you have experience up in the offensive side of things?
Well, I'm glad we don't have 2 new goalies and 20% of our scoring back from last year. This is a much better situation to be in. So for sure, like the top 2 names that come to the top of my mind are like Morgan and Aaron are back, and it's a junior and senior. goal scorer, and they're both very, very good. And then you add in our defender, who was a great goal scorer, in Riley Massey last year. We have a lot of weapons back. We also have girls that was a secondary role for them that now they'll become big scorers as well because they're experienced and ready to step in. So I think the experience is vital to where we're at, and it gives us a sense of comfort that, as long as we defend well, we will get goals in the games. And I think they're pretty confident. I know the junior and senior up front are just dying to get into matches and show what they can do.
And obviously one of the young ladies that we saw a year ago that was really dynamic offensively, defensively, I mean, she's just dynamic, period, is Lindley too. And how is she adjusting now when she had her first year of American college soccer under her belt? She has played everywhere. She played in the Junior Olympics. She played with the Chinese national team. So playing at a top level is no problem for Lynn Lee. But is it now maybe a little more of an ease is maybe what she's at, I would ask, with American college soccer?
Sure. I can definitely say that she's more comfortable with the American college soccer and the culture and the people. Her language skills are better. Her fitness level is as good as it's ever been. So she's making all those adjustments. She likes being in the middle of the field, helping with defense and orchestrating offense. And I think it feels like her team to her as well now, instead of like I'm just a foreign player that was put on this team. She really has embraced the ladies, and they've embraced her as well. So looking forward to having one of the best players in the country on my team.
Yeah, that's never a bad thing to have, right?
Yeah, right. Well, we'd take more national team players if they were available, Christian, and wanted to come to Taylor. That's for sure.
Last thing, Scott, what are some of the things you want your team to really focus in on with this opening game of the year at IU Kokomo on Saturday?
I wanted to put the pieces together that we've worked on in practice, and with a shorter amount of prep time, we've been doing more things that are small-sided and maybe positional instead of the whole team being integrated together. I just wanted to see the pieces because we've been learning a new system and really just start to play as a team. And once we open the field up and make it bigger, that will definitely start to happen this weekend.
Well, Scott, thanks for the time. Best of luck not only on Saturday in Kokomo, but also with the rest of the 2020 season.
Let's go TUWS. Thanks, Rick.
That is Scott Stan, the Taylor Women's Soccer head coach, joining me today to stay up to date with everything Taylor Women's Soccer. Just log on to TaylorTrojans.com.